Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, we're going to break down and learn note for note a very slow and soulful rhythm that's played with a lot of fill licks. So there's a lot that you're going to be learning. We're going to not just memorize the notes, I'll explain where all the notes come from so that you can start to put this in context into your own playing. But this is something that isn't difficult from a technical standpoint. There's nothing that's played really fast. They're all basic chords. But your biggest challenge is going to be in timing and not playing too fast. When you're playing something that's slow like this, your natural inclination will be to play ahead of the beat or to rush it. And I found that as I was playing along with a jam track, I kept wanting to play too fast. And so you're going to have to pay attention to that. As you play along with a jam track, watch it, don't rush it, and just try and stay on the beat. If you can record yourself and listen to it, you'll be surprised sometimes to see how you play a little bit faster than you think. So I've split this lesson into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half, as well as download the tablature and the MP3 jam track, which I think is pretty important to get the timing right for this lesson, you're going to want to go to ActiveMelody.com, go to the lessons page, and do a search for EP225. So let's go ahead and break down part one. Alright, so the first thing to mention, because I know I'll get questions, is the effect that I'm using. I'm using a tremolo pedal, and it's made by Moore. It's called the Trellicopter, kind of a weird name. But it's just basic speed and depth, and that's really all there is to it. And it just gives you a nice vibrato to your tone. Now, why would I use a tremolo pedal on this? The reason for that is when you're playing something slow like this, where you're letting chords ring out for a long period of time, sometimes it's nice to complement that by adding some color to your tone. And to me, a tremolo pedal is a perfect pedal effect for something slow and melodic like this. Now, if you don't have a tremolo pedal, don't go out and buy one. You don't have to have one for this, but that's what I'm using. Okay, so let's talk through the time signature for this. This is in 6/8 time, which means you'd count it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're accenting the 1 and the 4. In fact, let me play through the first 4 chords. We're going to play a G, a B minor 7, an A minor 7, and a D7. I'm just going to play through the chords just to pay attention to the timing of this, just so it starts to sink in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 2, 3. You can notice that I'm accenting that 1 and the 4. And so that's how we're going to start this by playing that first G chord. Now, we're not going to play a G chord here. I'm actually going to play a little G triad here. And this is an easy triad to play. And if you don't remember anything else in this lesson, just remember this triad shape for a major chord, because it's very easy to find off of your major bar chord shape. You can take your G chord in this case, look at these two fingers, skip this fret, and come up and think of it as like making a D chord right here. But you're playing another voicing of what you were playing here. And that applies obviously anywhere on the neck. So if you're playing an A, for example, skip this fret and you'd come up here. That's a very easy way visually to find a different voicing for that. And I use that all the time. So that's the first chord we're playing. And that comes in on the 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And notice that accent there on the 4, where I just hit it again, but quickly, and let it die out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's the first thing. Now the next thing that happens is a little lead part, a very simple lead. Let me talk through that lead though. This lead is going to be played in the major pentatonic scale for the key of G. And we're going to be in pattern 4, so these first notes are going to be in pattern 4. So we'll be staying in the same scale throughout. It'll be that G major pentatonic scale. It's also the E minor pentatonic scale. It's the same scale, same notes in both of those scales. What defines it is the chord underneath it. And you'll see how that plays out as we break it down. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now notice this little slide here comes in on the 6. 6, 1, 2, 3. And what I'm doing is I'm sliding from the 7th fret up to the 9th fret on the 4th string. And then I'm playing the 7th fret 3rd string. Now these two notes are in pattern 4 of the major pentatonic scale. Alright, so this will be a big takeaway for those of you interested in improvising. If we play a chord, a G chord for example, and we look at where these two fingers are, to get to this pattern 4 of the major pentatonic scale, there's a real natural walk up. So I look at, in this case it would be the 5th fret, it's where these two fingers are, and I start on the 6th string, and I go from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. On the 6th string, do the same thing on the 5th, and the same thing on the 4th. Very easy, a little box there. All of that is in the major pentatonic scale for whatever chord you're playing. So in this case it would be a G chord, so it would be in the key of G. So you'd have... Now I'm going to slide. So again, it's that same little box pattern. Now we're going from the 7th fret to the 9th fret. And we're going to do the same thing on the 3rd string now. So now we have... So those first notes that I played, that's where they come from in my mind. I just wanted to connect it all back to a chord shape so that you can see that that's where we're now in pattern 4. And all these little lead licks we're going to play come out of this pattern. That's going to make it make a lot more sense to you. Okay, back to the beginning now. I know it's some background, but we'll move on. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now look at that. So after we hit that note, I did a hammer on. This is between the 7th fret and the 9th fret on the 3rd string. Back to the 7th fret, 9th fret, 4th string. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very easy, very slow little lead part. Anybody can do this part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to take this ring finger and we're going to slide it down 2 frets to the 7th fret on the 4th string. And then I'm going to go ahead and bar the first 3 strings on the 5th fret and play that. That will be your A minor chord. Now I know I said A minor 7 in the beginning, but you can substitute. It's A minor 7. But that's what I played from a guitar perspective, even though the chords I think on the piano was an A minor 7. Okay, so then back from the beginning we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice there's another little accent there on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then I came up here and went. There's my Keith Richards. I always throw that in. I love that. But all I'm doing is I'm coming back up and doing that same hammer on between the 7th fret and the 9th fret on the 3rd string. But the difference is I'm barring the first 3 strings there on the 7th fret, and I'm playing strings 2 and 3. So you have that nice sound. Isn't that really a sweet sound when you hear those 2 notes together? So from the A minor we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I went. Okay, now my bar comes down 1 more string, so I'm barring the first 4 strings now on the 7th fret. And I played strings 3 and 4. And after I'd played that, I did a hammer on. I kept the bar down, but I did that hammer on. That's that Keith Richards sounding chord change. When I hammered on, my middle finger goes down on the 8th fret 2nd string, and my ring finger goes down on the 9th fret 4th string. Now what did I just do here? Well, let's analyze this. First of all, look at the first 3 strings. What is that? That's that D chord shape, how we started it. You know, the G chord shape? And then all I'm doing, so it's really just a G chord, but I've added an extra note, if you think of it that way. Extra meaning from that triad that we started with. So that's another way to make it. So just remember that's another way to make a G chord voicing. But you can kind of connect it back to this chord shape now. So everything kind of connects, you know. It's all connective tissue between these chords. I love that hammer-on though. It's just like that. To me, it sounds like a pedal steel. It just melts you to go right back into the 1 chord. Okay, then the lead part goes really cool, very sweet sounding. So it's a full bend here on the 10th fret 2nd string. Again, this is pattern 4 of the major pentatonic scale for G. After that bend, I didn't do any vibrato or anything, just bent it and then released it and then went. So that's 10th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret, all on the 2nd string. And then pay attention to this part. It looks hard, but it's really not, because all I'm doing there, I'm just picking that once. So that's my index finger slides down to the 7th fret 2nd string. I do a hammer on to the 8th fret and a pull off. So I go, and then another hammer on, this time with my ring finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. Okay, now I'm playing the 7th fret 3rd string. There's a quick slide from the 9th fret down to the 7th fret on the 4th string, and then the 5th fret 4th string. And then we land there with our ring finger on the 7th fret 4th string. So all together that lick goes. Just pay attention to the timing of it as well. Okay, let's back up from the beginning. That's a lot of information so far. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's where we are. Now notice, if you're paying attention in the background, in the back of your mind, the chord changes. We're at that A minor 7 part when I hit this note. So what's the natural thing to do is just to pick out the notes of the chord. It makes it so easy when you're thinking about lead. Sometimes when you're playing lead, you're thinking scales. And sometimes when you're playing lead, you're thinking chords. Or at least that's how I think of it. And at this point, I know that's one of the notes in this A minor chord. And so all I did was I went, just pick the notes out of the chord. So after you hit this note, go ahead and bar on the 5th fret, first 3 strings, and play 4, 3, 2. And then once, you could have just played the 1. You could do it that way. But I thought it sounded cool to kind of flick it like that. And so all I'm doing for that is I'm taking my pinky and flicking it here on the 7th fret 1st string like this. Doing a pull off. Not really flicking it, it's a pull off. So it's 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's the string numbers. And those are played right on the beat. And I'm just downstrokes with the right hand. And then the next thing I played was I came back down to this D7 chord shape. Now to make this D7 chord shape, if you make a C chord down in 1st position, slide everything up 2 frets, put your pinky down on the 5th fret 3rd string, play the middle 4 strings, 5, 4, 3, and 2. That's your D7 chord. So 5, 4, 3. Those are the string numbers. Now I could have kept picking out that chord. I could have went, and that would work fine, but instead I ended up going, because I wanted to come up and do something a little higher. At least that's how my brain was processing this as I was going through it. So I played that little part. Now this is very cool, because if you think of, so that we're playing the D part of the song, there's your D7. So the way that I went there mentally was I thought of D7, then I thought, well, I've got a D chord shape here. And then I've got all these little licks on this side of the chord, which I've explained in other lessons, but that's where that came from. So that's just barring the first 4 strings on the 7th fret. We're playing strings 4 and 3. Doing a hammer on between the 7th fret and the 9th fret on the 4th string. 4 and 3 again. Ring finger goes down on the 9th fret 5th string. Alright, so let's take it from the A minor. Now the next thing that happens is the song goes to a C. And all I'm doing is I'm thinking of the C major bar chord shape. I'm just not making the full bar there. I'm just I'm playing strings 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 out of that chord shape. So I've got on the 8th fret here, I'm barring the first 2 strings. 9th fret 3rd string, with my pinky, I'm on the 10th fret 4th string, and my ring finger's on the 10th fret 5th string. And that's how I played that C chord. And then I came up. Okay, so this'll connect something that we just talked about earlier. So remember I was showing you that G chord and how to play the other voicing of it here. So from here, I did the same thing. I looked at where these two fingers are. I skipped this fret and I come up to the 12th fret in this case and played strings 3 and 1. Now notice that's another voicing of it, but I didn't play the full chord. I just did this harmonized 6th, which would be strings 3 and 1. Isn't that cool though? And gave it a little vibrato there on top of that. Look at how easy it is to go from here to here, and it's just another version of that. And then I went and walked that down just 1 fret. Now the other thing to mention is I'm using hybrid picking on this part, which means I'm picking the 3rd string and I'm plucking with my ring finger the 1st string. I find that easier. You do not have to hybrid pick this. You could just flat pick it, but I think it's easier to hybrid pick that. Now why did I walk this down to here? Well, that's because the chord changes. So we went from the C chord down to a B major chord in the song. So we just mirrored that up here. Okay, now the next chord is an E minor. Alright, so when the song goes to an E minor, from a scale perspective, I'm still thinking basically of the same notes. Remember all those notes I showed you that worked over a G, the G major pentatonic scale pattern 4? Those same notes are going to work over an E minor because those are the minor pentatonic scale pattern 4 for E minor. Same exact notes. So you have to know your patterns, and I actually cover all 5 patterns in the blues lead course. Those are the minor pentatonic patterns, but if you're not familiar with them, you could check that out. But anyway, just think about that. That's really powerful. Even though the song, we went from this major thing to now we're into a minor, we can still play in the same area. It makes it very easy to think about the structure of the song. Okay, so there's your B major, and then once it goes to the E minor, we do this little bend here. So this would be the 10th fret 1st string, do a full bend, release it, come all the way down to the 7th fret 1st string. Again, this is pattern 4 of the minor pentatonic for E. And then we're going to play, I do a bend with a vibrato on the 10th fret 2nd string. And so I do that, and then I do a bend and release and come down to the 8th fret 2nd string, and then I played this, and that's just sliding up to pattern 5 and then back down to pattern 4 of the minor pentatonic. So that would for E. So my ring finger goes from the 10th fret 2nd string up to the 12th fret, and then my index finger goes down on the 10th fret 1st string. So you have 2, 1, 2, and then that last note there is the 10th fret 2nd string. So all together, it sounds like that. Now that's actually where we're going to end this part 1 video. That's a lot of information, and then we'll save the rest of that for the second video. So let's back up now and we'll play through everything slowly up to that point. And when you're practicing this, make sure you're playing along with the jam track. It really helps, at least with the timing. Okay, so from the beginning we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3. All right, we'll see you in part 2.